So, with the time left on the board, anything that you, in your opinion, wish the board could kind of go back and reconsider?
Well, there are a couple of choices that have been made, a couple of votes that were squeakers. Some are 5-4 votes that I wish had been 4-5, or 4-5 votes that have been 5-4. But you know, Tim, the important thing is to look for future opportunities, keep meeting with people, keep hearing about what's on their minds. You know, we just had a ribbon cutting at the Sterling Sheriff Substation, and a tremendous number of the public turned out. And that's one of the great joys of my term on the board, because, you know, when you're a member of the Board of Supervisors, you go to a lot of ribbon cuttings for projects that were started before you got elected.
Sure.
You go to a lot of groundbreakings for things that may not be done until after you're out of office. This one, we broke the ground less than 2 years ago, and that station is open and operating and keeping the people in the Sterling region safe. And the people there let us know how important that was to them. So reacting to the concerns of my constituents is something that I hope people will remember that I did.
Good. I'd like to get your take on a recent approval by the board. A lot of folks are coming to me and asking about this new radio application for Potomac wage, whatever you want to call it.
No, I'm surprised you have any interest in that.
Oh, well, you know, here and there, back and forth. Folks are really concerned about, well, what's the programming going to be? And I know we don't really know yet. It's kind of taken on faith at this point. And, you know, we want to make sure that those blue herons don't get troubled with these towers. But,
Right.
I mean, basically, do you see that as a good thing for the county, or?
Well, I can't see how it could be a bad thing for the county. You know, people have asked me,
Right.
can we be sure that the programming will be county-oriented? But you know, that encroaches on an extremely delicate area for me. I am a great believer in protecting people's constitutional rights. It would be highly inappropriate for the government of Loudoun County, or any government, to tell a radio station whether or not they could transmit based on what the content of their transmission is going to be. It's not my place as a supervisor to tell somebody what to say on their radio station. This is a land use application. It brought additional taxable assets to the county's commercial tax base. That helps take tax burdens off of my residents. That was very appealing to me. It certainly is not going to reduce the safety factor that's inherent in having a public asset like that can transmit warnings, amber alerts, lookouts for escaped suspects. I mean,
Sure.
even the Commonwealth's attorney, who rarely comes to speak to us in the boardroom, said he thought this would be good for the safety of the public. So if the only thing that we don't get out of it is that we can't hear the sports scores from the high school football games that we tend to get by going, and that's how we should know, you know, I think that's a downside we can live with. But again, to me, it would be inappropriate to even go to them and say, my vote will depend on what you say. The government should have no role in that.
Kind of like saying Dulles Airport needs to serve Loudoun County. Well, of course they do. They serve some other places too.
Yeah, everywhere from here to China and back again. But yeah, that's a good comparison. I mean, we get so much benefit out of these, what some people call corporate citizens, by the services they provide, the jobs that they offer us, the contribution they make to that commercial tax base, that for us to go in and say, but you have to also treat us extra special here in Loudoun County, that might be more than we should realistically ask. And a lot of these organizations treat us very well, without being asked.
Yeah. Well, school's just about out, and I heard some talk, I believe it was from the school board, about possibly being able to fund some summer school classes for ungraduating seniors, and kind of going back on that. Do you have any particular take on that? I know it might not be your place, but...
Well, it's a sensitive area. I mean,
Yeah.
people have a right to know answers to questions like that from the
Right.
people who serve them. For me, it's sensitive because just before we set the budget this year, we had been informed by the school board that the budget we were proposing would lead to substantial numbers of layoffs, reductions, what we call FTEs, full-time equivalents. These are
Right.
employees, basically. Some of those spots didn't have anybody in them, so if you eliminate a spot that no one occupies, you're not laying anybody off, but many of them would have. When the final budget was settled, and we did stick with what was proposed at the time they predicted all of those job losses, the total number of job losses they actually experienced was very, very small, a very tiny fraction, 10%, or I think a bit less than what they told us. Now, to me, that raises an important red flag when we go into the next budget, which is when I am told by my counterparts, my elected counterparts at the school board, what the consequences of a proposed budget might be. I'm going to have to ask them, well,
You know the territory.
why should I put my faith in them?
Right.
I mean, I have to. My constituents are asking me that. I will ask the school board that. I'm not going to wait until the last minute and spring that question on them. I'm telling them right now, I'm going to ask you that. And the answer is going to make a big difference to how much money I'm willing to support giving them.
Well, last question, we'll throw you a softball. What are your summer plans?
Well, you know, the board takes the month of August off, or so
Right.
they say, but that doesn't mean there isn't anything to do. I actually use that to catch up on a lot of background study that I feel I should be doing for the applications that are pending. Chesapeake Bay Protection Ordinance decision will probably not be made until September.
Right.
We do have a work session on it this coming Tuesday on the 15th. I don't believe public input will be solicited then, but anybody who wants to watch can do so on cable and so forth. But anytime I can, I always enjoy spending a little extra time with my 8-year-old son, who has insisted that I'm not allowed to run for anything in the future. He and I are talking about that. But I love my wife, I love my son, and anytime I wonder what the best thing to do for Loudoun County is, I usually discover it's the best thing, I think, for them as well. So
Good.
spending time with them is yet another way to try and serve the public interest. I'll be doing that this summer for sure.
Good. Well, thanks for choosing the Arcola Pleasant Valley Fire Department for our location.
Yeah, and thanks to all of them for the work they do.
Right. Nice grassroots decision. Thanks
you.
again.